the family or you choose your newfound religious cult, I informed her. She chose the cult, and I'd left for our daughter. After moving out, I reunited with an old friend. A previous friend needed housing owing to a broken arm and other issues. We rented a place together to start. I nearly died when lightning struck that house. This happened in 2001 on the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast in Australia is scorching in January. Not sure whether anyone else noticed. These severe storms usually occur in January. In January 2001, 2 hurricanes hit. The first storm hit late afternoon after sunset. When hail started pouring, lightning and thunder were abundant. Little ice fell. My roommate and friend, who had a broken arm in a plaster cast, was in awful shape. He fearlessly went outside in the storm, leaving me confused and worried about his safety. But I think his excitement came from the fact that we were overcoming obstacles together and he felt relieved. After the hail got big, he went inside and the storm passed. At 10:00 p.m., another storm hit as we played Scrabble. The board game Scrabble uses letter tiles to make words. Heavy lightning near the home made it tremor, making it intense. A ravine in the back led into the woods from our leased home on a hill. Residents called the area Lightning Ridge due to its frequent lightning strikes and other electrical occurrences. I got something from the fridge while playing Scrabble. Next, I went to the kitchen, which is near the Scrabble table. The kitchen, dining area, and everything all in one large room. I opened the fridge in the kitchen. The window behind me has a gigantic gum tree. Koalas love gum leaves from gum trees. A huge gum tree was behind the glass. After that, I leaned on the fridge while my roommate sat still at the table. Thunder and lightning erupted, turning the sky white and blue. When lightning broke the glass behind me, I knew it hit me. The bolt of lightning struck the glass from behind as I supported myself on the refrigerator. The white-blue light surrounded me like I was weightless in space, paralyzed. Even though it was brief, it felt like an eternity. In that moment, I could digest everything, including mental talks with myself. By hearing him yell and curse, I knew my roommate was there. The light overpowered me, and I said, "Oh God, this is how I'm going to die," or something similar. Even though I knew this was my moment, the lightning strike surprised me. I wasn't terrified since I was young. I was just astonished and thought, "Oh, so that's how it happens." The light encompassed me, but then I heard a mechanical clicking sound. Maybe that's electricity traveling between my head and the refrigerator. I thought as I clutched a massive metal box's door. That was my first thought about the sound. Nearly immediately after entering this dark void, I was thinking about this and accepting that this was how I would die. Not afraid. It's hard to describe. Despite not being in space, it felt like you were floating with the stars. I saw them as electricity pin lights rather than stars. No one else, tunnel or body was visible. I felt happy to float without earthly worries. The cult and other issues with my ex-partner faded. I could be myself there. I saw little lights, like pin lights, that were energy and felt like I was floating through space. I can describe it best. Orbs and other comparable phenomena have a lot of life. I initially believed they were energy balls, but then I wondered whether they were other universes. I sometimes feel that a part of me resides with these other elements. I am not frightened of processing everything. I am glad to have left all the clutter behind. I sensed a strong presence then. I couldn't see anyone, but it didn't matter. I didn't turn around since I thought this being was silently following me. Even though it didn't speak, I knew it was there if I had questions or needed my worries calmed. That wasn't necessary for me just then. I noticed one spherical item on my way. Consider Earth as energy instead of stuff. I appear to be drifting away from this existence as I approach it. I didn't mind because the closer I get, the more I worry about returning. I thought of my young daughter then. I was relieved to be free of duties, but I kept thinking, but I have a daughter. I worried she would be raised in this cult and never be independent. She wouldn't think for herself, understand others, or have a father. I think people need a variety of experiences to make their own choices. I was in space, but something subtle and inward changed as I thought of her and this planet or ball of light. I felt like the universe was inside and outside me. I didn't know if it was my imagination or if I was somewhere else. However, it was the feeling. I didn't care about the answers. I just wanted to relax and get rid of the garbage. I was afraid to approach this other heavenly body because of my daughter. I realized I might not return if I got too close. In that domain, I realized I was unaware of what was beyond. It's too far-fetched to be human. Transforming into a different species might be surreal. I'm uncertain. Some call it paradise, but I felt like you enter another universe when you take a bodily form. Not as a human, but as something else. That was my feeling. I felt acquainted with the situation, as if I had lived there before. Always remember that everything happened in the brief second of a lightning strike. I had plenty of time to travel and reflect. It seemed like 10 or 15 minutes in Earth time, yet it was simply a lightning bolt. I initially saw this presence when I thought of my kid. I have no idea what that was again. It could have come from my higher self. Some believe Archangel Michael or Jesus Christ is it. A clairvoyant mentioned Archangel Michael in my near-death experience reading. Does that clarify? Seriously, I don't know. I'm somewhat ignorant, as everyone has their own truth. I only know what I've experienced, what speaks to me, and what seems true. My feeling of duty kicked in when I thought my kid needed aid. I was transported back to my body with the voice's comforting words, "Goran, you are going to be fine." When I stood up, the white-blue light was gone. No gradual transition into darkness occurred. Immediately, my roommate raced to me yelling and cursing. While lying on the ground, I sensed something was wrong, but did not feel hurt. It felt like my hair was on end. I liked "Goran, you're going to be fine," because it came from a powerful beast. I interpreted it as a message that everything would be okay despite my illness. Despite a little burn above my eye, my roommate checked my toes and fingers for damage. Despite my pleading, he called 911. After contacting the hospital, they advised a comprehensive physical test because I may have inside abnormalities despite my appearance. Looking back, my initial travel refusal was unwise. I won't recommend it, but I didn't want to be involved. I knelt and let him check my toes and fingers. This is interesting. I'm married again, to my lifelong wife. Before this incident, I removed all my jewelry. I went to the dentist to remove my metal fillings for some reason. Please, no metal in my mouth. I was metal-free at the time. My clothing was cotton shorts, a cotton t-shirt, and no shoes. I find it intriguing that things may have worked out for the best. I cried and went to the house's corridor, where thunder and lightning were still roaring. Everything had changed back there, and now it bothered me. As I lay against the wall, I thought about the occurrence and the comfort that everything would be okay. However, I suffered severe headaches, physical aches and pains, and stress-related sorrow. This event was supposed to distract me. Time passed, but it hadn't. The process was extensive. There was no miraculous cure, but I'm improving. I'm excited about the last decade, and I felt depressed before things improved. My roommate took me to a nearby doctor despite my guilt. "Do you remember what happened?" he asked. 2 weeks ago, I was struck by lightning," I said. He was surprised but said I was lucky. He asked, "So, what were you up to?" "I was using my right hand to lean on the refrigerator," I said. "You're lucky it wasn't your other hand," he said. I hadn't considered that. Lightning destroyed the video recorder and DVD player in the home. Since the lights kept on, it must have affected other circuitry. My roommate and I checked the gum tree outside. The house shook when he saw lightning through the glass. The gum tree trunk had fire marks and a split. We concluded that the first lightning hit damaged the tree. That was removed, and the rest was refrigerated. Due to my obstruction of the refrigerator, it passed through the house behind me. It happened like way. After my near-death experience, the book explores my extraterrestrial dreams and other events. I developed sleep paralysis after my near-death experience. That sleep paralysis brought many great fantasies. They may have included aliens. Some of them were shocking, but others taught me new things or gave me new views. I considered the possibility that these extraterrestrial beings were one of the countless life forms I observed during my near-death experience. Perhaps part of me is elsewhere. So it was feasible. I started automatic writing without thinking. "Goran, you'll be fine," was all I could make out. After being struck by lightning, I shouted out, "Oh my, is this how it's going to end for me?" However, I believe I had a choice. It may not be the same for everyone, as you can see from the stories you hear. I knew getting closer to that energy source would change Earth's current events. I could return and show my daughter a different side of life while being uncomfortable. Or I could say, done with that. What's next? Because no one has asked me or tried to instruct me. It's as if I independently arrived at that decision. Still, maybe I would have heard something different if I had gotten it wrong the first time. Nonetheless, I had ample time and processing power to figure it out. You could refer to it as God, or you could call it something else entirely. I'm not sure which one would be more appropriate, but I can see how some religious people might. It goes by a lot of names: Source, your higher self, and maybe even something else entirely. It seems like my relationship with God has always been strong. That, has never been an issue for me. No matter how bad things got, I never once thought, "Oh, I hate God," or anything along those lines, did I? No, this is how I've dealt with it, it says. For some reason, I need to find a way to escape this. I don't think it's fair to hold individuals responsible for a problem. Being a human makes it easy. I get that, but it all boils down to this. I'll be able to see that God isn't to blame for anything if I take a step back from my human self and look inside again. It is I. Additionally, I have always maintained some kind of connection to a greater power, deity, or whatever you choose to name it. Whatever you choose to call it is fair game. One thing I did learn during the subsequent 12 years, though, and it was a very difficult lesson, was that you can't alter other people. Do not be a hypocrite. Instead, set a good example by removing yourself from the situation. Then we will be able to perceive ourselves. When we act in a way that makes us believe, "Oh, yeah, now I see why that person reacted to that the way I was, because I was horrible," we must set our egos aside and remember we are the only ones we can influence. To start, I believe that the liminal space between life and death is a near-death experience. Since there is no such thing as death, no one who has survived one has ever died. Many gurus, sects, and cults spread false information. If someone says you can't question it because you don't have faith in their God or anything else, it should be a warning sign that something doesn't sit right. Take a step back, look around, and question everything objectively, not because you're afraid of what others think, not because you have financial stakes, not because you look around, make notes, and question everything. Take a break. Maybe a few points strike a chord with you. Write down the small things that touch your heart. That's the Bible that matters to you. It boils down to that. You're building your own universe, Bible, and values based on your desires, not someone else's. It's good to ignore my advice.